She answers. Clear. Calm. He finally looks at her. His eyes move from her face to her clothes, then away. You're here without a lawyer, he asks. Yes, Your Honor. A pause. A thin smile touches his mouth. That was your first mistake. A few people in the gallery shift. Someone coughs. No one speaks. The prosecutor flips a page, relaxed. The girl feels her heartbeat in her ears. She presses her fingers together so they won't shake. The judge leans back in his chair. Do you understand the charges? He asks. Yes. You sure? His voice sharpens. This isn't school. This is court. I understand, she says. He tilts his head. Because from where I'm sitting, he says, this looks like a young girl who thought she could outsmart the system. Her stomach tightens. The prosecutor smirks. The judge taps his pen. Let's be clear, he adds. I don't have patience for games. The girl takes a breath. She opens her folder. Inside is something no one else in the room has seen yet. And if the judge doesn't let her speak, everything ends here. The judge adjusts his glasses and scans the file for the first time. Not carefully. Just enough. He looks up. You're 16, he says. Yes, Your Honor. And you're choosing to represent yourself. Yes. He exhales through his nose. That's ambitious. The prosecutor smiles. Not friendly. Strategic. The girl stands still. Her feet hurt. She doesn't shift. The judge taps the folder. You're accused of submitting false academic records to your school district, he says. That's fraud. I didn't do that, she says. He raises an eyebrow. You'll have a chance to speak, he says, already cutting her off. Later. She feels the word land heavy. Later means never. The prosecutor stands. Your Honor, he says. The state is prepared to show clear documentation proving the defendant altered official records. The judge nods. I assumed as much. The girl's chest tightens. The judge looks back at her. You understand that intent matters here, he asks. Mistakes don't explain this. I know, she says. You know, he repeats. Or you think you know? A pause. She chooses her words. I know because I checked. The judge leans back. You checked, he says slowly. Against trained professionals. Yes. The prosecutor chuckles under his breath. The judge doesn't stop him. That's enough commentary, the judge says, to her. Not to the prosecutor. Her fingers curl around her folder. Inside it is weeks of work. Sleepless nights. Screenshots. Logs. None of it exists yet in this room. The judge glances at the clock. We're not turning this into a seminar, he says. Court time is limited. He looks at the prosecutor. Proceed. The prosecutor steps forward. These records, he says, holding papers up, were submitted electronically. The system shows the defendant as the source. He places them on the table. The judge barely glances. Clear, he says. The girl opens her mouth. Not yet, the judge says, sharp. Her throat tightens. The prosecutor continues. The school verified the submission. The timestamp matches her login. The judge nods again. You see the problem, he asks her. She does. He doesn't. I need to respond, she says. You will, he says. But let's be realistic. That word. Realistic. It's unlikely, he continues, that an institution fabricated evidence against a student. She feels heat rise in her face. It's not fabricated, she says. It was changed. Silence. The judge's eyes narrow. Careful, he says. You're making a serious accusation. I know. You seem very confident for someone in your position. Her heart pounds. Her position. I'm confident because I have proof. The judge smiles. Thin. We'll see if that matters, he says. He glances at the clerk. We're not dragging this out. He looks back at her. Prepare your closing remarks. Closing. Already. Her breath catches. The folder in her hands suddenly feels heavier. If he rules now. She looks up. Your Honor, she says, louder than before. The judge pauses. Yes. I haven't submitted my evidence. He studies her. Then he reaches for his pen. Court will decide, he says, and lifts it to sign. The prosecutor does not sit. He likes the space. He steps closer to the bench, papers in his hand, voice smooth. Your Honor, the record is straightforward, he says. This system tracks every change. Usernames. Dates. Times. He places a single page on the screen. The judge leans forward. The girl watches his eyes follow the highlighted lines. She feels her pulse climb. This login, the prosecutor continues, tapping the screen, belongs to the defendant. The judge nods slowly. Exactly what I expected. The girl swallows. That login isn't secure, she says. The judge doesn't look at her. Do not interrupt, he says. The word hits harder than a shout. The prosecutor keeps going. The school's IT department confirmed the data, he says. No sign of tampering. He glances at her, then away. As we often see in these cases, he adds, young people underestimate how traceable digital actions are. Young people. The judge smiles faintly. Lesson learned, he says. The girl grips the edge of the table. I need to explain, she says. The judge sighs, slow and loud. You will, he says. Briefly. The prosecutor sits. The girl steps forward. She opens her folder. These records were changed after I submitted them, she says. The timestamps. That's speculation, the judge cuts in. It's not, she says. It's in the metadata. The judge finally looks at her. His eyes are sharp now. Irritated. You expect this court to believe the school altered records to frame you? Yes. A ripple moves through the room. The judge shakes his head. That's a serious claim, he says. And frankly, unlikely. Unlikely. She feels the weight of it. The clerk keeps typing. The school administrator stands when called. Middle-aged. Neat suit. Confident. Do you oversee student records? The prosecutor asks. Yes. Any irregularities in this case? No. The administrator does not look at the girl. The judge nods. Thank you. The girl speaks. Did you review the access logs from the night of the change? She asks. The administrator hesitates. We reviewed what was necessary. The judge leans forward. Answer the question. No, the administrator says. We did not. The girl feels a spark of hope. Why not? She asks. The administrator glances at the prosecutor. It wasn't required. The judge frowns. That's enough, he says to the girl. You're not conducting an investigation. She feels her throat tighten. That's where the change happened, she says. At night, after submission. The judge's voice hardens. You've made your point. I haven't, she says. The judge stays at her. You are testing this court's patience. Her hands shake. She forces them still. I'm trying to show the truth. The prosecutor stands again. Your Honor, he says, this is turning into a fishing expedition. The judge nods. I agree. He looks at the girl. You've suggested misconduct without proof admitted into evidence. I have proof, she says. Then why hasn't it been submitted? He asks. Because I wasn't allowed to, she says. Silence. The judge's jaw tightens. You were allowed to speak, he says. Not to show it. He pauses. The room waits. Then he speaks. Court will not entertain conspiracy theories, he says. Especially from someone without counsel. The word without lands like a label. I request permission to submit digital logs, she says. The judge glances at the clock again. No, he says. Her breath catches. This case has already consumed enough time. She feels panic rise. If you continue, he adds, I will consider contempt. The word hangs in the air. Contempt. The girl looks at her folder. Inside it is the truth. Outside it is power. The judge turns to his pen again. Prepare to accept responsibility, he says. Her heart pounds. If she stays silent now, the system wins. She looks up and decides she won't stop, even if it costs her everything. The clock on her wall reads 2:17 a.m. The house is silent. Everyone else is asleep. She sits at her desk with her laptop open, the glow cutting across her face. Her eyes burn, but she doesn't blink. Her fingers hover over the trackpad. She replays the moment from earlier that day. The system tracks every change. That line. She clicks again. The school portal loads slowly. Too slowly. Her heart thumps. Loud in the quiet. She exhales and pulls the hoodie tighter around her shoulders. The file opens. At first, it looks the same. Same grades. Same submission date. Same format. This is why no one questioned it. She almost closes the tab. Almost. Then she clicks Properties. A small panel opens on the side. She leans closer. Her eyes move line by line. Created. Modified. Accessed. Her breath stops. The modification time doesn't match. It's not the same day. It's not even close. It's 3 days later. Her fingers shake as she scrolls. The username attached to the change isn't hers. It's not a student ID. It's an admin string. Her mouth goes dry. No, she whispers. She refreshes. Same result. She opens another log. Then another. Each one tells the same story. The files were clean when she submitted them. They were altered later. She leans back, heart racing. This isn't a mistake. This is someone covering something. Her phone buzzes. She jumps. A text from her friend. You still awake? She doesn't reply. She opens a new tab and starts recording her screen. Every click. Every timestamp. She names the folder original proof. Her hands move faster now. Fear mixes with focus. If this disappears. She saves everything twice. Then a third time on a flash drive. She labels it with a marker. Her name. The date. She presses it into her palm like it might vanish. Her stomach twists. They accused her so easily. They didn't even hesitate. She thinks about the administrator's voice. We reviewed what was necessary. Necessary for who? Her chest tightens. She scrolls deeper. There's more. Hidden revision history. Buried logs no one bothered to open. She finds an access window. Time, 2:41 a.m. Location, on-campus network. She stares at the screen. The school was closed. She takes a screenshot. Then another. Her laptop fan hums louder. Her eyes sting. She blinks hard but keeps going. This is why they were so confident. They never thought she would look here. Her phone buzzes again. Another message. She ignores it. She opens an email thread from weeks ago. Her original submission. The attachment metadata matches her version. Unchanged. Untouched. Her chest loosens just a little. She's not wrong. She's not crazy. She presses her lips together to keep from crying. She remembers the judge's face. Unlikely. She closes her eyes. Adults say that word when they don't want to listen. She whispers to the empty room. I found it. Her voice cracks. She wipes her face with her sleeve. Then she straightens. She isn't done. She organizes everything into folders. Timeline. Screenshots. Video capture. She writes notes in simple words so she won't forget. Admin access used. After submission. Not student login. She saves a backup to the cloud. Then another to her email. She checks the flash drive again. Still there. She stands and paces the room. Her legs feel weak. What if they don't let her show this? What if they don't care? Her stomach knots. She sits back down. She opens a blank document. Types one line. Evidence they didn't check. She prints it. The printer whirs too loudly. She freezes, listening. Nothing. She grabs the papers and slides them into her folder. She doesn't sleep. Morning comes slow. Her mother knocks gently. You okay? She asks. I will be, she says. In the car, the flash drive stays in her pocket. Her fingers never leave it. Back in the courtroom, the memory fades. But the feeling doesn't. Standing there now, with the judge's warning echoing. Contempt. She feels the same fear. But now it's different. Because she knows something they don't. She looks at the bench. At the prosecutor. At the administrator. None of them have seen 2:17 a.m. None of them know what's buried in their own system. The judge speaks. Last chance, he says. She tightens her grip on the folder. Her voice is steady when she answers. I need the court to see this. The room holds its breath. Because if she doesn't get permission, the truth stays locked in a timestamp no one checked. And she'll lose anyway. The judge doesn't answer right away. He looks down at his notes. Then at the clerk. Then at the prosecutor. Silence stretches. The girl stands there, waiting. Her legs ache, but she doesn't move. The judge clears his throat. The court will proceed with witness statements, he says. Not permission. Not denial. Avoidance. The prosecutor rises again. Your Honor, the state calls the school records coordinator. A woman walks to the stand. Late 40s. Tight smile. Hands folded. She takes the oath without hesitation. The prosecutor's voice softens. You manage digital student records? Yes. And you've reviewed the records in this case? Yes. Any sign they were altered improperly? No. The answer is quick. Too quick. The girl watches her eyes. They don't move. The judge nods. Thank you. The girl steps forward. I have questions, she says. The judge exhales. Keep them relevant. The word cuts. Do you know who has administrative access to the system? The girl asks. Yes. How many people? A small group. Can you name them? The woman glances at the prosecutor. The pause is brief. But it's there. I don't see how that's relevant, she says. The judge leans forward. Answer. 4 administrators, the woman says. Do students have that level of access? No. The girl feels a stir in the room. She presses on. Were any administrators logged in on the night of the modification? The woman stiffens. I'd have to check. You didn't, the girl asks. No. The judge's brow furrows. The prosecutor stands. Your Honor, this is outside the scope. The judge hesitates. Then nods. Sustained. The girl's chest tightens. She tries again. Did anyone instruct you not to review full access logs? The woman's jaw tightens. No. But her voice isn't firm. The girl sees it. The judge doesn't. That will be enough, he says. The woman steps down quickly. She doesn't look at the girl. The clerk avoids her eyes. The gallery is quiet. Too quiet. The judge folds his hands. Is that all? He asks. No, the girl says. She feels every eye on her. I need to submit digital logs that show. I already ruled on that, the judge snaps. Her heart jumps. You ruled before seeing them, she says. The room freezes. The judge stays. You will watch your tone. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, she says. I'm trying to be heard. A beat. The judge's voice lowers. This court does not operate on feelings. She nods. It operates on facts. Yes, he says sharply. Which is why I won't entertain accusations without proper procedure. I followed procedure, she says. I filed a request. You filed it late. I didn't know sooner, she says. The judge shakes his head. That's unfortunate. Unfortunate. Her stomach drops. She looks at the gallery. A man in the back row shifts. A woman presses her lips together. No one speaks. She feels it then. The weight. Not just of the case. Of being alone in a room full of adults. Silence isn't neutral. Silence is a choice. The prosecutor smiles again. Your Honor, he says. The defendant has had ample opportunity. The judge nods. I agree. He looks at the girl. You've challenged credibility without substantiating your claims. I haven't been allowed to, she says. The judge's eyes harden. You're repeating yourself. Because no one is listening, she says. A sharp intake of breath echoes somewhere. The judge raises his voice. That is enough. Her hands tremble. She presses them together. I'm not lying, she says quietly. I didn't say you were, he replies. I said you were unprepared. The words sting more than an insult. Unprepared. After everything. After nights without sleep. After finding what no one else bothered to check. The judge glances at the clerk. Note the defendant's continued disruption. Disruption. The clerk hesitates. Just for a second. Then types. The girl sees it. Another choice. She feels tears burn her eyes. She blinks them back. If you deny this, she says, you're ignoring evidence. The judge stands. That shuts everything down. This court will not be lectured, he says. The room holds its breath. You are not entitled to unlimited time. She looks up at him. I'm asking for fairness, she says. He stays down. Fairness does not mean indulging suspicion. He pauses, then speaks slowly. The request to submit additional digital evidence is denied. The words land heavy. Final. Her chest tightens. The truth stays locked in her folder. The judge turns back toward the bench. We will proceed to. Your Honor, she says. Her voice cracks. He turns. What? She takes a breath. This is it. If she stays silent now, no one will ever know. I have a procedural motion, she says. The judge frowns. What motion? She lifts her folder. Her heart pounds. Because if this fails, she's done. And the system will never even blink. The judge pauses. The room waits with him. A procedural motion, he repeats. On what grounds? The girl's pulse pounds in her ears. On the grounds that the court has not reviewed material evidence, she says. And that denial affects due process. The prosecutor stands fast. Your Honor, this is improper. The judge lifts a hand. Let her speak. The girl blinks. It's the first time he's said that. She steps forward. I'm requesting the court allow limited submission, she says. One digital file. No testimony. No argument. The judge studies her. You seem very familiar with legal language, he says. I read, she replies. A murmur moves through the gallery. The judge looks at the clerk. Is such a motion allowable? The clerk hesitates. Then nods. In limited form, yes. The judge exhales. The prosecutor leans in. Your Honor. I said limited, the judge snaps. The prosecutor sits. The girl opens her folder with careful hands. This file contains metadata, she says. It shows modification history. No speeches, the judge says. Submit. She walks to the clerk. Her legs feel light. Unsteady. She hands over the flash drive. The clerk plugs it in. The screen flickers. The judge leans forward. Proceed, he says. The clerk clicks. A list appears. Dates. Times. Access levels. The girl watches the judge's face. His brow furrows. What am I looking at? He asks. Revision history, the clerk says quietly. The prosecutor rises again. This doesn't prove anything, he says. Systems auto-log. Sit, the judge says. The clerk scrolls. A timestamp appears. 3 days after submission. The judge's finger taps the desk. That's odd, he says. The girl's heart races. The clerk clicks again. Another entry. Another timestamp. Another access level. The judge straightens. These are not student credentials, he says. The room stares. The prosecutor's jaw tightens. Administrative access, the clerk says. Silence. The judge looks at the school administrator. You said the records were untouched. The administrator shifts. They were accurate, she says. That wasn't my question. The judge's voice is sharper now. Were they altered after submission? The administrator hesitates. I would need to verify. You're looking at the verification, the judge says. The girl swallows. The judge turns back to the screen. Who has this level of access? The clerk scrolls. 4 names appear. The judge reads them silently. His posture changes. The bench feels smaller. The prosecutor stands again. Your Honor, even if changes occurred, there's no proof of intent. The judge looks at him. Intent follows action. The prosecutor falters. The girl feels it. The shift. The judge leans back. Let the record reflect, he says slowly, that the submitted file shows post-submission modification. The clerk types. Her hands shake. The judge turns to the girl. Why wasn't this discovered earlier? She answers honestly. No one looked. A pause. The judge nods once. The prosecutor's voice tightens. This doesn't absolve the defendant. It raises doubt, the judge says. The gallery murmurs. The judge raises his hand. Order. He looks back at the screen. Another detail appears. A username. The clerk freezes. Your Honor, the clerk says softly. What? This account, it belongs to. The prosecutor steps forward. That's enough. The judge's eyes harden. Finish the sentence. The clerk swallows. It belongs to the district records supervisor. The room goes still. The girl feels her knees weaken. The judge removes his glasses. Call a recess, he says. The prosecutor's face drains. The judge stands. We will reconvene shortly. He looks at the girl. You will remain. She nods. As people rise, whispers fill the air. The girl stays where she is. Her hands tremble now. Not from fear. From relief. But it's not over. She watches the administrator rush toward the prosecutor. She hears the low, urgent voices. The judge exits. The clerk ejects the flash drive. Hands it back to her. Good job, she whispers. The girl clutches it. Her heart pounds. Because the name on that screen, it isn't small. And when court resumes, someone powerful is going to answer. Or everything will be buried again. The courtroom feels different after the recess. Quieter. Sharper. People sit straighter. No one checks their phone. The judge returns first. His face is closed now. Controlled. He takes his seat. Court is back in session, he says. The prosecutor stands slowly. The school administrator does not look calm anymore. The girl remains standing. The flash drive is still in her hand. She keeps it there. The judge looks at the screen again. Before we proceed, he says, I have questions. He turns to the administrator. You oversee student records. Yes, she says. You testified that no improper changes were made. Yes. The judge's voice is even. Then explain why an administrative account accessed this file 3 days after submission. The administrator swallows. I would need to review internal protocols. That is not an answer, the judge says. The room tightens. The prosecutor clears his throat. Your Honor, administrative access does not automatically imply misconduct. Agreed, the judge says. Which is why I am asking who used it. He looks directly at the administrator. She hesitates. Her eyes flick toward the prosecutor. The girl sees it. The judge sees it too. Answer, the judge says. The administrator exhales. There are several supervisors with that level of access. The judge nods. And one of those accounts appears in this log. He gestures to the screen. This one. The clerk highlights the username. The name is clear. The girl feels the air leave her lungs. The judge leans forward. That account belongs to the district records supervisor, he says. Correct. The administrator's voice is tight. Yes. The judge turns to the prosecutor. Was the court informed of this? No, the prosecutor says quickly. Because it was not relevant. The judge stays at him. It became relevant the moment a student was accused of fraud. The prosecutor shifts his weight. This could be an automated system correction. The girl speaks before she can stop herself. It wasn't automated. The judge holds up a hand. Explain, he says to her. She steps forward. The system logs manual access separately, she says. This shows a human login. The judge nods slowly. Clerk. The clerk checks. She's correct. The prosecutor's jaw tightens. The judge looks back at the administrator. So, he says, someone with authority changed a student's record after submission. The administrator's voice shakes. I don't know why. The judge pauses. Did anyone instruct you to make those changes? No. Did anyone instruct you to ignore the logs? The administrator hesitates. The pause stretches. The girl's heart pounds. The judge's voice drops. This is a courtroom, he says. Silence is not protection. The administrator closes her eyes. Yes, she says. A gasp moves through the room. Who? The judge asks. She opens her eyes. The district supervisor, she says. She said it was necessary. Necessary for what? For compliance. The judge leans back. Compliance with what? The administrator doesn't answer. The prosecutor steps forward. Your Honor, this is going beyond the scope. No, the judge snaps. This is the scope. He looks at the clerk. Pull the supervisor's affidavit. The clerk types fast. The screen changes. A document appears. Signed. Dated. The judge reads. His lips press together. This affidavit states the records were untouched, he says. He looks up. That statement is false. The room goes silent. The judge removes his glasses again. Perjury is not a small matter, he says. The administrator's shoulders slump. The girl feels a strange mix of relief and sadness. She never wanted this. She just wanted the truth. The judge turns to the prosecutor. You brought a case based on records you did not fully verify. The prosecutor's voice tightens. We relied on institutional trust. The judge nods once. And that trust was misplaced. The prosecutor does not respond. The judge turns back to the girl. Did you alter these records? No, she says. Did you have the ability to? No. Did anyone with authority do so after you submitted them? Yes. The judge exhales slowly. The weight in the room shifts. This court will not proceed as if nothing happened, he says. He looks at the administrator. You are dismissed. Do not leave the building. Her face drains of color. The judge turns to the clerk. Contact the district's legal counsel. The clerk nods. The judge looks at the gallery. This court will note potential institutional misconduct. Whispers spread. The girl feels her knees weaken. She grips the table. The judge looks back at her. You should not have been put in this position, he says. It's not an apology. But it's close. The prosecutor sits down. He does not look at her. The judge raises his gavel slightly. We are not finished, he says. He pauses. Someone altered a file. He looks at the screen one more time. And this court intends to find out who. The girl breathes in. Because the truth is finally visible. And now, someone else is afraid. The judge does not speak right away. He sits still, hands folded, eyes fixed on the screen. The courtroom waits. The girl feels the weight in her chest shift again. Not gone. Just different. The judge clears his throat. This court recognizes, he says slowly, that its earlier assumptions were incomplete. No one moves. The prosecutor stares at the table. The judge looks at him. You relied on institutional statements without independent verification. The prosecutor's voice is tight. Yes, Your Honor. That reliance nearly resulted in a wrongful ruling. The word wrongful hangs in the air. The girl swallows. The judge turns to the clerk. Note for the record, he says, that the defendant raised concerns before evidence was reviewed. The clerk types. Each keystroke feels loud. The judge looks back at the girl. When you first spoke, he says, this court questioned your credibility. Her heart stutters. That was an error. The gallery exhales as one. The judge straightens. Authority does not excuse oversight, he continues. Nor does experience excuse dismissal. He pauses. The bench feels smaller now. Less distant. The girl feels it. The judge turns toward the door. Has district counsel arrived? A man in a dark suit steps forward. Yes, Your Honor. The judge nods. You are now on notice of potential evidence tampering. The man stiffens. The prosecutor looks up sharply. The judge raises a hand. This court will not ignore what has been uncovered. The man nods once. The judge looks at the administrator, seated stiffly to the side. You were instructed to ignore access logs. Yes. By a superior. Yes. The judge turns back to the girl. You discovered this on your own. Yes. At 16. Yes. The judge exhales slowly. That matters. The words land softly, but they carry weight. The prosecutor finally speaks. Your Honor, he says, even with these findings, the question of intent. The judge cuts him off. Intent no longer rests with the defendant. Silence. The prosecutor closes his mouth. The judge leans forward. When evidence implicates authority, he says, the burden shifts. The girl feels tears rise. She blinks them back. Not yet. The judge's voice lowers. You were treated as a problem, he says, instead of a participant in justice. The gallery murmurs. The judge raises his gavel slightly. Order. He looks at the clerk again. Is there any evidence linking the defendant to the alteration? No, the clerk says. The judge nods. Any evidence contradicting her timeline? No. The judge sits back. The chair creaks. The sound echoes. The judge looks down at the file one last time. Then he closes it. The sound is final. He looks up. This court finds that the evidence against the defendant is compromised. The girl's breath catches. The judge continues. Further, this court recognizes procedural bias in how her testimony was received. The word bias lands heavy. The judge looks at her. You were correct to insist. Her chest tightens. The judge turns to the gallery. This is not how justice is supposed to feel, he says. No one argues. The judge lifts his gaze. This case will not proceed. A ripple moves through the room. The girl grips the edge of the table. The judge's voice steadies. The charges are dismissed. For a second, she doesn't breathe. Then the air rushes back into her lungs. Her knees shake. The clerk types fast. The prosecutor stays ahead, frozen. The administrator bows her head. The judge raises his gavel. One more thing, he says. The room stills again. This court is referring the matter of record alteration to the appropriate oversight body. The man from the district stiffens. This will be reviewed independently. The judge looks directly at the girl. You are free to go. Free. The word feels unreal. She nods. She can't speak. As she turns to leave, she feels eyes on her. Not judging. Watching. Understanding. She reaches the aisle. Her mother stands. Their eyes meet. Her mother's lips tremble. The judge's voice stops her. Young lady. She turns back. The judge looks at her differently now. Not above. Across. You should not have had to fight this hard, he says. She nods once. I know, she says quietly. The judge watches her for a moment. Then he looks away. She walks out. The doors close behind her. The courtroom buzzes. Inside, the bench sits empty. Smaller than it was before. Because authority was questioned. And truth stood its ground.